in Bath. Fielding, of course, was also outright winner of the Challenge of the Champions. And a very relaxed Declan Burns, an international canoeist who was winner of Irish Superstars.
Wake up, man, you get champagne. Hello. Oh, champagne for you. Oh.
Victory in domestic competitions has earned them a 2,500-mile flight to the sunshine of Israel for a taste of international superstars.
Tel Aviv Control, this is El Al Superstar flight requesting a landing instruction.
Looking at all this, the essential ingredients of the modern luxury holiday resort, it's hard to believe that if I was standing here in just 1950, there'd be nothing but bare and arid desert. Instead of air-conditioned hotels like this, one of many with their swimming pools, their bars and apartments, there'd be nothing but piles of dust and stones. As far as you could see, no sign of life at all, except a couple of mud huts. Well, today, this is Israel's boomtown. It's the shop window for the sun-seeking tourist, and it's called Eilat.
But no matter what Eilat has become in its short modern history, you can't get away from this, the desert, the Negev, which runs right down to the back door of your hotel. Jordan, Sinai and Saudi Arabia all meet up with this southernmost point of Israel on the Red Sea. To the north, on the way to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, is the Dead Sea, over 1,000 feet below sea level, the lowest spot on Earth. And from bleak and desolate land like this, Israel is justly proud of what they've literally dug out of the dust. In March 1949, the troops hoisted a makeshift flag made out of a bedsheet over what was no more than an old police outpost, and the new Eilat had been christened.
And so it's to here that we've come for the 1981 International Superstars, following on from last year's competition in Tel Aviv. With us are the two outstanding British representatives, together with competitors from a variety of sports and a variety of nations.
Basketball is the big sport here, and Israel's star player is a member of the highly successful Maccabi Tel Aviv club. He's been Sportsman of the Year in Israel 3 times running, Mickey Berkovich.
I want to tell the truth, you know, basketball is very particular and very strong sport. You have to practice twice a day, you have to run, you have to do all the sports to get in shape, to throw the ball up. It's very hard.
From motorcycling comes the Dutch representative, winner of 5 World Championship Grand Prix races, Wil Hartog.
Yeah, this thing I learned that it is really difficult to be a good superstar because a motorbike racer has not so good exercising in bones and all those things. We only broken the bones, and all the other ones are athletics, and they are very good exercised people to do it very well.
And from motorsport on 4 wheels, the former world drivers champion from Monaco, South African-born Jody Scheckter.
I was young in those days, now I'm old. I'm retired. But I don't know, I trained for about a week and a half on this, and I found it a lot tougher training this time.
Austria's Toni Innar, Olympic champion in the spectacular sport of ski jumping.
Oh, it's a magnificent jump!
My feeling is, compared to the world superstars, is very good now, because I'm accustomed to the heat and I didn't have any troubles with traveling to Israel, and so I'm glad to be here.
One of the world's legendary footballers is here from Germany, a man who scored over 2,000 goals, Gerd Müller.
Ja, ich hoffe, dass ich das Basketball
Müller, who now plays in America, speaks no English, but is looking forward to the events where he can use his speed.
100 Meter Lauf, dann Radfahren und dann den Hindernistest.
Ireland's superstar champion, Olympic canoeist Declan Burns, knows where his strength lies.
Well, mostly the upper body, but canoeists do an awful lot of running as well for cardiovascular reasons. And training is quite hard. We train twice a day, about 2 hour sessions each time. And it's an awful lot of time every week, about 6 days a week.
The ever-impressive sight of the biggest man here, Britain's Andy Ripley.
Oh, I mean, I'm like everyone, you know. I mean, I might have a facade of smiling and be the fun guy, but in fact, I want to win as much as anybody.
And the man who beat Ripley to win the United Kingdom Championship, now in his 6th Superstars, Rugby League sprinter Keith Fielding.
It should be okay. I've not put on a pair of spikes since the British series, simply because I've concentrated on the other events. But it should be okay. I'm looking forward to running on grass, because that's what I do every week, you see.
But for Fielding and the other 7, the next 2 days will be very different here in Israel for this 1981 Superstars International.
The sun shining brightly on the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aqaba there in the background. Now, our 8 superstars have to do 7 out of 8 events. 2 of them have no choice. That's Mickey Berkovic, the Israeli basketball star. He's not allowed in the basketball. And Declan Burns from Ireland cannot go in the canoeing, which is our first event. The other man who's opted out of canoeing is Gerd Müller from West Germany, the soccer player. That means, of course, that Andy Ripley and Keith Fielding do go, and this has been a very good point-scoring event for them in the past. They're all ready. There are 2 heats of 3, and it's the 125-meter sprint canoe event to get us underway.
Thankfully, a little breeze blowing up, the temperature already approaching the 90s. That breeze, as you can see, in the canoeist's favour as we look down the course. From the 6 men who'll take part, just the 2 heat winners and 1 fastest loser will make the final. And some British holidaymakers here, giving support to our men, Ripley and Fielding, who've been drawn in separate heats. And the canoes, by the way, will be K1s. They're different from the canoes we use in our Superstars.
המשתתפים במקצה הראשון, שביל מספר 1, ויל הרטוג, הולנד.
Dutch motorcyclist who's been in 2 previous European Superstars.
שביל מספר 2, אנדי ריפלי, בריטניה.
Beaten by Fielding last week in the United Kingdom canoe final.
שביל מספר 3, מיקי ברקוביץ', ישראל.
Israel's basketball player, tall, very well built.
Are you ready?
So it's Hartog nearest us, big Andy Ripley in the middle, and Berkovic on the far side. And Ripley already powering ahead, and look at the angle of that canoe. Ripley's weight at the back, and it's power all the way for Andy Ripley. In fact, he's already ripped a blade off the paddle in practice, but that power surging out, and Hartog is offline. Hartog on the left view screen is offline, and is trying to correct. Berkovic going reasonably well, but it's Ripley's power. But you can see the difference in the canoes. The back end is really down in the water. Ripley is at the back, but it's all the power, all the arm strength of this man, determination, forging him ahead. It looks very much like he'll make the final. The other 2 will be on time. Berkovic is struggling, but Ripley up. Hartog's coming up as well now, and Ripley coming to the line. Ripley will make the final. On time between Hartog and Berkovic, and it's Berkovic just, then Hartog, but a good piece of canoeing by Ripley, who's assured himself of a place in the final of this first event. And that's how he did it. Look at the power of the man, digging in deep, determined, the bow of the canoe right out of the water. He had to work hard, but he won it.
Well done, Andy. Good one. Yeah, terrific. Incidentally, you had the boat up at about this angle. It's entirely different to the canoes we used before, isn't it?
Actually, right, it's so comfortable here. I thought I was going to fall asleep at one stage. they are much heavier and much slower, so it means that in fact they're harder to push through the water.
How do you think Keith is going to do? Because he's quite a skilled canoeist, but it's an entirely different technique, it looks.
Oh, Keith will do well.
Yeah?
Keith will do well.
Well, now we'll see, because here's the lineup.
Tony Inauer, מאוסטריה.
A very slightly built ski jumper, Olympic gold and silver medalist.
בשביל מספר 2, ג'ודי שקטר, דרום אפריקה, מונקו.
Lives in Monaco, was in Superstars back in 1975.
ובשביל מספר 3, כית' פילדינג, מבריטניה.
Britain's superstar and canoe champion.
Are you ready?
So it's Tony Inar nearest us, Scheckter then Fielding, ski jumper, Grand Prix driver versus our champion of champions. The The winner, remember, makes the final. Ripley already through. There's Jody Scheckter. He used to be rowing in his old superstar days. He opted out of that in '75. He's a very good swimmer as well. And Fielding on the far side, looking leisurely, using the technique we know he's got. Look at that. Long arms, keeping the paddle shallow, keeping it straight, and not looking pressed at all. Looks across to see where the rest are, and it's Tony Inard just up on Jody Scheckter. Not much in it. Scheckter having to work very hard indeed. A little bit short on technique. Tony Inard keeping straight as well. The knees right up, no splash covers on these canoes, and Fielding with a lot in hand makes it, and then Scheckter, then Inard. But was it fast? It depends on time who's the fastest loser. And it was the technique of Keith Fielding there. Long arms, pushing that paddle out as far as he could, and even having time to look across to see how the rest were, but really not pushing himself too much. And already, fan club, even though they've probably never heard of him until today. So let's take a look at the timings, which will sort out the fastest loser. And it is Jody Scheckter from Heat 2 who makes it 45.5 seconds. He will join Ripley and Fielding in the final of this first event of the International Superstars in Israel. Tony Inard did well. He'd never been in a canoe before until that day.
Are you ready?
So here's the final underway. Fielding nearest us, Ripley in the middle, Scheckter on the far side. And remember, Fielding beat Ripley by just over a second in Bath in the United Kingdom final, but Ripley's out for revenge here. Ripley in the center, Fielding on the left of your picture, and it's Fielding just up at the moment. Scheckter still doing well over on the far side, on the right. But look at this power. Certainly power of Ripley against the technique of Fielding. Fielding looking much more relaxed, but having to work harder this time. Declan Burns, the Irishman, the canoe expert, said, keep it shallow and you'll keep it straight. They're all keeping straight at the moment. But it's going to be Keith Fielding. Fielding is going to win the first event of the Superstars here in Israel, and Andy Ripley is going to be second. Jody Scheckter will pick up the points for third place. But a very good race by Keith Fielding, who kept it cool, kept it straight, and hit the line. And what a good start for Great Britain, picking up 17 of the first set of 24 points. Fielding followed by Ripley. And then after Jody Scheckter in third place, we have Tony Inard, who's fourth, Mickey Berkovic is fifth. That's due to their times in the heats. And Wil Hartog, the Dutch motorcyclist, the only man who misses out. In fact, he missed out by just a tenth of a second. Well, the next four events of this International Superstars are being held here in the grounds of the Le Rome Hotel, just off the beach. That's the shooting, the swimming, the gym tests, outdoors, like they are in the World Final in the Bahamas, and it's getting pretty warm here as well. And we've also got the sport that Israel plays so well, their national sport of basketball.
And it's Mickey Berkovic demonstrating a few of the skills that make him the biggest name in Israeli sport. Something of a national hero, too, when he turned down a very lucrative contract to play in America. And he's good even by American standards. But he stayed to play in the Israeli League and for their national squad, and he's impressed everyone here. Declan Burns having a good look, and Gert Muller, a chance to see him in action. But to start off, it's Keith Fielding. Keith has never got it all right in terms of getting 5 baskets in 5 shots. He's always regretted that. He's quite a skillful basketball player. Travels well. Good sprinter, of course. Oh, is that the one? Yes, he's missed it on his second shot. Gets it. Just those 2 or 3 seconds denying him of a fast time. That's right. The British boys tanning up fast in this very warm, dry Keith Fielding going well now. Makes that. Quite quick, running for the line. That's good.
Now then, thought I saw a little touch of the shakes on that second basket, was it?
I always miss a basket. I've never been known to score 5 in a try.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter though.
Yeah, just I think I heard the time. I think it was 44 seconds. 44? 44.7.
44.7 confirmed for Keith Fielding. Tony Inard there had even more problems. His time 69 seconds. And they're all looking at Gert Muller. Our first real look at him. immensely powerful legs, short, stocky legs and a long body. But he is a legend in his own lifetime. He's now 35. Spent 15 years with the famous Bayern Munich club. And, of course, he was the scorer of the winning goal for West Germany in the World Cup of 1974. Now with Fort Lauderdale Strikers. Gerd Müller doesn't look terribly happy. Very safe. Oh, and he's travelling a little bit there. Andy Ripley waiting to go. Declan Burns too. Oh, and that slipped right out of his hand. Gets it on second shot. Gerd Müller chasing Keith Fielding's time of 44.7. Oh, and that one slipped too. He's not really very happy, nor very agile. Steps back, has another run in, breaks a couple of more rules, and that's been spotted by the other competitors. But crosses the line, and he's outside 60 seconds, so not a threat at the moment.
Gerd Müller's time was 1 minute, 1.9 seconds.
61.9 for Gerd Müller.
Declan Burns, please.
Abraham Klein, the FIFA and World Cup referee from Israel, officiating here, calls out Declan Burns. Pretty tough canoeist, winner of the Irish Superstars. He's won several British canoe titles as well as Irish canoe titles. Specialises in the K2 class, that's the kayak pairs, in the Montreal Olympics, partnered by Brendan O'Connell, who's out here with him. This is that, gets it on second shot. Jody Scheckter there, his time 54.9, lying second at the moment to Keith Fielding. In it goes. And he's on time with Keith Fielding at the moment. He could better Scheckter, and it's quite a fast time from Declan Burns. Oh, and he's lost it. Now that really is, that's 4 or 5 seconds. Otherwise, he was in contention for the lead. Declan Burns got a chase for the line now. Relief for Keith Fielding there. But what about that time? Certainly lost out.
Declan Burns' time was 47.9.
Just behind Keith Fielding.
He's in second place now.
Distinctly better than Will Hartog's 61.6. Fielding still leads. Burns second, Scheckter third. But now for Andy Ripley, who has this tremendous advantage of being nearer the basket than most. 44.7, his time to beat, and he showed at Bath that this was well within his compass if all is going well. Watch that. Nice relaxed approach to the basket. He can almost dunk it. His fingertips almost touching that basket. Straight in front, just lobs it in. This captain of Rosslyn Park, who describes himself as a late developer since he didn't take up rugby until he went to university. Now, of course, England's most capped number 8 ever. 24 caps to his credit. And looking a winner here. And Keith Fielding knows it. Andy Ripley has got himself sharpened up for this competition. And he's quick. Going well. He must have done it with that.
We didn't miss a basket, Andy.
Wasn't too quick, though, but...
Just waiting to see. 39.03, I think you did in Bath indoors, didn't you? 41.2, yes, you're in the lead.
So this happy trend for our English competitors continues. This time it's Andy Ripley in first place, collecting 10 points. Keith Fielding in second place takes the 7. Declan Burns of Ireland bringing up third place there and collecting 4 points.
Well, that's a bit of a revenge for the canoeing, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, obviously it's nice to win. It's nice to win, David.
You thought you were a little bit slow across the ground, in fact. Was the time a bit of a surprise?
I didn't think I was that quick. I think actually missing the basket, you lose much more than you think you do. And if you're safe but sure, probably is the best way to go. But actually, obviously in this event, being tall, one has a natural advantage. Like other people have natural advantages in other events.
Andy Ripley delighted with that because it makes him absolutely level on the overall table. Both he and Keith Fielding now have 17 points, and way back in third place with 6 points, it's Jody Scheckter.
But for Scheckter, the nearest threat to this British domination, there were 2 events coming up where he'd said he expected to score good points, swimming and shooting. 5 years ago in Superstars, he'd swum magnificently. But first here in Israel, he was one of 7 who had to shoot. This is Will Hartog, the Dutch motorcyclist. And distance of 8 meters. The disc's just an inch and a half across. Hartog was shooting well. Four broken in 6 shots. Hartog, in one of his previous Superstar outings, had won the crossbow event. Just the last disc down there, you can see it in the bottom left-hand corner, and that went as well. All 5 in just 7. And that was a pretty impressive score for the rest to try and follow. Declan Burns, the Irishman, feeling the heat, had a nightmare, didn't hit 1 disc in the time limit of 5 minutes. Keith Fielding, remember how well he shot with a rifle at Bath against Mick Hazelwood? Started very well, he had 3 and 5 shots, but then hit a bad patch. In fact, that was his 4th miss in a row. Fielding wasn't very happy. This was shot 10. Regretting the misses, getting a little touch of the shakes and the muscles tightening up. Finally, he got them all down, but he'd taken 11 shots. Second to Hartog. Berkovic had taken 14 shots, and of course Burns had had a nightmare. Then it was Andy Ripley's turn, who also started well, hit 4 in 7 shots. Remember, Hartog had got them all down in 7, but then Ripley got into trouble. He'd missed his chance there to finish in less shots than Fielding. So, 11 shots, the same number as Fielding. Hartog with that score of 7. Familiar shakes here yet again. Then it was Jody Schechter's turn. He shot very well. 3 discs broken in 8. He couldn't beat Hartog, but he could overtake Ripley and Fielding. And 1 more hit, Ripley and Fielding will be down another place. All broken in 10 for Jody Schechter. Hartog still the leader. Schechter second. Ripley and Fielding moving down. Tony Innar was the last competitor. And although he'd hit 3 discs in 5 shots, the pressure got to him just a little bit here. If he broke those 2 in 2 shots, he'd equal Wild Hartog and share the lead. Lost his chance to do it, but could still get second from Jody Schechter with 2 hits in 3 shots. That was one of them, which left him 1 disc to break, 2 shots in which to do it. Hartog assured of victory. Innar with his last chance to get second over Jody Schechter. And he did it. Second place for Innar, and they weren't exactly congratulatory words that Jody Schechter shouted. So, for the first time, an event is not won by a British competitor. Hartog took the 10 points, Innar the 7, and because Ripley shot faster than Fielding, he was given 4th, Fielding 5th. Schechter ahead of both of them. So with 5 events to go, Ripley, by virtue of that 1 extra point, goes ahead of Fielding. But as you can see, 2 men are now much closer, Wild Hartog and Jody Schechter, the 2 motorsport men. And Gert Muller, still the only man yet to get a point in this international championship.
The Red Sea, an underwater paradise for snorkelers the world over. And the vital Gulf of Aqaba, a key port in the volatile Arab-dominated oil business. Around our seawater swimming pool, though, little thought of Middle East turmoils, petrodollars or OPEC prices. Just the sea, the sun, an offshore breeze, and this hotel pool. And the swimming becoming a key event. 2 swimming heats to decide the final, and Muller, the only man dropped from the final. A nice relaxed atmosphere, though. Competition going well.
שביל מספר 1, Keith Fielding, Britannia. Lane number 1, Keith Fielding of the United Kingdom.
Only just qualified for this
שביל
final.
מספר 2, Declan Burns מאירלנד. Lane 2, Declan Burns, Ireland.
Tanning up.
שביל 3, Andy Ripley, Britannia. Lane 3, Andy Ripley of the United Kingdom.
Must get points here.
שביל 4, Jody Scheckter, Monaco. Lane 4, Jody Scheckter of Monaco.
Looking confident. By far the fastest swimmer.
שביל 5, Miki Berkovic, Israel.
Still very
Lane
popular.
5, Miki Berkovic of Israel.
Onto their blocks.
On the blocks.
Berkovic on the left, then Jody Scheckter, Andy Ripley, Declan Burns, Keith Fielding. Andy Ripley can get points here, but Jody Scheckter, last time out, did 30 seconds for 50 metres. He beat Alan Pascoe by 5 seconds, and he's already ahead. And although Andy Ripley is charging after him, here's Ripley, the big man. Scheckter must be 2 metres clear as they come to the turn. Jody Scheckter hits the turn, has a quick look. Ripley follows him, the rest battling for 3rd place. And Keith Fielding wanted to get points here, but he's struggling at the moment as Jody Scheckter pulls away. Andy Ripley is clearly in 2nd place. There's the 10 and the 7 decided, but what about the minor placings? It looked like Declan Burns holding off Keith Fielding, and so too is Miki Berkovic, and that means only 1 point for Keith Fielding in last place. Disappointing for him, but 10 good points for Jody Scheckter.
But your swimming form's still good. Do you still do a lot of swimming?
Not at all. I haven't swum for about a year, and I'll practice for about a week now.
I remember the other racing drivers saying you're always good at swimming because you're always swimming off your yacht to get to the shore. Is that still going on?
No, I haven't even got a yacht.
Anyway, you got 10 points there and well swum.
Well, Keith Fielding has always had doubts about his swimming, but he still must be disappointed, for it now means that Jody Scheckter becomes a serious challenger to him and to Andy Ripley. Scheckter the 10 points, Andy Ripley 7, Declan Burns 4, only 1 for Keith Fielding.
Well, that win of Jody Scheckter's has not only brought him up into 2nd place, but he's split the 2 British competitors. Andy Ripley at the top with 26, Scheckter now with 20, Keith Fielding just a point behind in 3rd place on 19. Phil Hartog holding on to 4th, Tony Innar 5th, and Declan Burns with a very good swim indeed there, now in 6th place with 8 points. Gert Muller, the only man yet to score. Well, gentlemen, Jody Scheckter, the man who's now got in between you, and of course both of you are opting out of the gym tests, and he's in those, and he's quite a fair performer. So do you think he's becoming a bit of a threat?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, it's just a coincidence that both of us have opted out of the gym tests. I think,
yeah, I mean, people are wondering why, I think, because you're both reasonably fit specimens.
Well, I think Andy's too big and I'm too bright. Basically, that's what it's about.
What do you feel about your own performance so far? I mean, I would have thought you were very pleased.
Oh, delighted, yeah, delighted. I mean, if at the moment, I'm sure things will change, but at the moment I'm winning, and if you can't enjoy it when you're winning, then you're probably going to enjoy nothing. And so obviously I'm very pleased with the way things have gone so far.
Looking forward to what's left in the competition for you, 100 metres, obstacle and cycling. Have you got any forecast of what you might expect out of those 3 events?
I would think, unless something happens, that I'll be pushing Keith in the 100 metres, but how we do on it will depend on the day, but on past form, Keith would probably expect to win, but I hope to get a good place in that. On the obstacle course, I've never done before, and that's come in instead of the steeplechase, so right. I obviously would have preferred something like the steeplechase, but I mean, one has to play the competition as it is.
You preferred even more a big long run, I suppose, as well.
Right, yeah. Right. But the obstacle course probably favours more the agile guy, and there's quite a few guys that are agile, Tony and Jody Scheckter and Keith as well. And then we finish up with the cycling. But the way the competition is going, I think that there's going to be the 4 places, 1st to 4th, are probably going to be in contention up until the very last event, which makes for good competition.
Yeah. It is beginning to look very open now, Keith, isn't it?
There's probably not just 4, there's 5 of us, because Declan should come in with the gym tests. Right. And he's no mean athlete. Anyway, he's a good stamina man, whether he's running or whether he's using his upper body. He's a good stamina man, and he's training hard for it.
So you must be obviously looking for the 10 points in the 100 metres.
I've got, well, it's not a matter of looking for it. I've got to win the 100 metres. And I've got, thank you, sir, I've got to in the cycling as well and perform well in obstacle course. I'm so many points behind on Andy that I've to give myself a chance. Not only have I got to beat Andy each time, but I've got to score good points.
Now they can only stand and watch those gym tests already in progress. All eyes on the parallel bars, which is a pity in a way. And Jody Scheckter, who may have retired from racing driving, but he's certainly found a new lease of life here.
Go. 1.
Like many of the racing drivers, he keeps himself exceptionally fit.
6,
and there's
7,
all the
8,
evidence that
9,
he's been in training
10,
for this.
11, 12, 13.
Look at
14,
this rhythm.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
He's already ahead of
8,
Tony Innar,
9,
who scored
30.
26.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40.
Well, he's ahead,
2,
way ahead of what he
3,
did in 1975.
4, 5,
32 dips
6,
then.
7,
Jody now 30 years
8,
of age and getting a magnificent
9,
score.
50. 1.
Oh, just locked out of the airworks and then collapsed. But 51, a superb score for Jody Scheckter. Mickey Berkowitz on the left scored 11. Will Hartog on the right, 16. The remaining tough guy to come, Declan Burns of Ireland.
Burns, Ireland.
This is the fellow that could do more than 40 chins, which the Irish include in their superstars to coincide with world superstars.
33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43.
That's a pretty tough character. 6 hours a day paddling a canoe, 6 days a week. That relentless paddling have given him tremendous upper arm development. But 51 is a tough target to beat.
16, 17, 18,
Good rhythm.
19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30.
Going well.
1,
Knows exactly what he's got to do.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40. 1.
He's getting there.
3, 4, 5.
But he's also slowing.
7, 8, 9, 50.
And is he going right down?
2, 3,
Well,
4, 5.
Jody Scheckter may feel that his score should stand. It's been a tough and very good effort. Declan Burns, a magnificent challenge. 56 they're going to give him. I thought perhaps that Scheckter was a shade unlucky there. There's the total of the parallel bars, though. Burns 56, Scheckter 51. Way back on 26 in our Hartog on 16, Berkowitz 11. 30 seconds of the squat thrust gone. Jody Scheckter drawn with Will Hartog. Scheckter using the socks and going at a tremendous rate. He really only learnt this out here. He must be in fantastic shape to be able to do this. That's the normal squat thrust from Will Hartog. But the man who's pounding away is Jody Scheckter. What a score he's going to get, and Declan Burns can only watch and wait. This is going to be a very big total score indeed. Going right to the end, 60 seconds. I'm dead, man, says Hartog. But what about Scheckter? Declan Burns now knows what he has to do. Really was a tremendous effort.
Are you dead or alive?
I'm dead.
When did you start to do the slow sliding toe technique?
They told me on the phone, so I thought this was... I tried in my room last night.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be quicker.
How many do you think you've done?
They said 113, 14, 113.
Well, I want to ask you if that's a personal best.
Oh, a long way, yeah?
Well done.
On both of them.
Terrific.
Okay.
Hey, Tony, will you lend him your skis as well?
Sure, if you want. Every time.
Tony Innar gets his socks back, but Gert Müller only 57 squats, so once again He's out of the points. Here's Declan Burns and Tony Inau together. Declan Burns chasing that total of 113 by Jody Scheckter. So close to Jack's world record total of 118. Tony Inau in trouble. He's trying to slide, but really his legs and his stomach muscles have given out. And that's a surprise because he's a pretty tough character. He has to be a ski jumper. There's Brendan O'Connell, Declan Burns' K2 partner, who watches an exhausted Tony Inau sink to the ground with a big smile on his face. The end of a hot, dry, exhausting day. Something of a triumph for Jody Scheckter. Certainly upset the two British boys. A big win in the gym there, ahead of Declan Burns and Will Hartog, and those points are going to be very important to him.
Those scores have put a very different complexion on this competition. For the first time, Britain have lost the lead after that excellent start. Jody Scheckter, the motor racing driver, is now 4 points clear of Andy Ripley, and Fielding is struggling, 7 points further down, and only 4 ahead of Hartog and Ireland's Declan Burns. Mickey Berkovich, the basketball player, has been a bit of a disappointment to his army of fans here. But on day 2, speed is the vital element in the 3 remaining events. There's still a chance for Ripley or Fielding to take home the Townsend Torreson Trophy.
Well, having spent the whole of yesterday within the confines of a contemporary resort hotel with all the facilities they had to offer, we start the second day in a wilderness. Our backcloth for the day is the Negev Desert, and if it weren't for a favorable breeze coming off the Red Sea, conditions would be pretty intolerable. Already it's about 80 degrees, and our superstars still have 3 tough events to go. Now our backdrop is 2,000 Israeli school children all getting very excited, cheering on their local hero, Mickey Berkovich, as we get ready for the 100 meters on a grass track, the only green sward for miles around, an irrigated piece of turf, which is the town football stadium and the athletic track. We start with the 100 meters. Jody Scheckter doesn't go. Our 2 British competitors do. In fact, they're in the 3 final events. The second event will be the obstacle course, where the elements will be familiar to most of you. And then we finish with a 900-meter cycle race around the town centre of Eilat, and that should be a very exciting climax. These 2 close comrades tanning up in this bright sun. Commiserations there, I'm sure, for Keith Fielding, who's nursing an injured ankle. Mickey Berkovich getting the support from the local school children, loosening up. But it's a lovely warm day, ideal for sprinting.
We're trying to have a relaxing massage, and they got the cameras on me.
The only thing is, it's your 8th massage in 2 days.
Yes, it's been a very good event.
Jody Scheckter quite happy. And the sprinters coming under starters' orders. From right to left here, it's Will Hartog there in blue. Then standing up, Declan Burns. Keith Fielding, nursing an injured ankle, getting into his blocks. Then Tony Inau on his right. Andy Ripley, easily recognizable in the red. Mickey Berkovich and Gert Muller, far side. And they get away. Andy Ripley versus Keith Fielding. Keith Fielding needing the points, and Keith Fielding up at the moment. Keith Fielding going exceptionally well, and Andy Ripley coming after him, and Andy Ripley's going past, and Ripley's going to win this, and Fielding loses 100. Berkovich gets 3rd. What an astonishing win for the big man from Rugby. Rugby Union wins over Rugby League. A surprise that. I'm sure the ankle affected Fielding, who led for the first 60 meters, but what a turn up from the giant. Fielding got away well. At 50 meters now, he's leading. Berkovich still with the 2 leading men. And then the giant stride of Andy Ripley gets him to the tape, 2 meters in front.
Well done, Andy. Keith, that must have been a turn-up. Andy, congratulations. Super run.
Oh, I think Keith's ankle might have something to do with it.
Well, what about it? He was going well.
No, well, I thought I had him at 50. I saw him come past. Tried to respond, nothing there.
Well, Mickey Berkovic was still in the race at 50. That surprised me. You were coming after that big long stride of yours. But that was a magnificent run, Andy. Have you been putting some extra training in? We've seen you over long distances, but that was a fine 100.
Thanks a lot, Ron.
Yeah, now that ups your chances. Keith, what does that mean as far as you're concerned?
Well, it means I've got to win the obstacle, and Andy's got to come last. I've got to win the cycling, and it puts a lot of pressure on. I think I'll be going for second place now.
Yeah.
I think Andy's got it.
Chances vanishing for Keith Fielding. Andy Ripley's time 11.2 on rough grass. What a fine run to Keith Fielding's 11.4. Mickey Berkovic gets the 4 points in third place. Then Tony Inau 2, Declan Burns 1. And the tongues will wag in both rugby union and rugby league circles. Fielding losing a banker race there, but suffering from an injured ankle. And that means that Andy Ripley will be left alone to resist the challenge of Jody Scheckter. And the scoreboard now reads Andy Ripley back on top, 36 points. Jody Scheckter, 30 points. Keith Fielding, 26, still in contention. And way back, Declan Burns in fourth place with 16.
And that means with just 2 events to go and all the superstars go in both of them, only 3 men can win this international title here in Israel. Keith Fielding of Great Britain, who's left himself far more to do in these last 2 events than he expected. Jody Scheckter, the racing driver, who's desperately keen to have a go in that bike racing on a difficult track. And the big man, Andy Ripley, with the best chance, the leader at the moment.
Andy Ripley not just practicing these sit-ups, but getting up from the exhausting sit-ups, facing that daunting beam, trying to balance on it. That's where it all goes wrong. And he really needs to get it right. Looking so good.
I knew I was up. I was probably a yard up.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is the time just to change gear and just ease in. And there was nothing there. The legs were not moving. And then I saw Andy come through. It was demoralising, it really was.
I haven't decided. If I do it that way, when I get up, my head is gone like I'm drinking.
Yeah.
So I can't go. But
so how do you want to do it?
I'm not sure.
This is the easy one. No, like this, you can...
Well, no doubt now that this competition has really got to the men from all over Europe who are taking part here.
המשתתפים במקצה הזה הם דקלן ברנס מאירלנד.
The Irishman lying 4th overall.
וכית' פילדינג מבריטניה.
Has to score well in this obstacle course event. Can't forget that 100 meters. Heat 1 of the obstacle race.
Ready!
Burns over very well. And Fielding's knocked it down. Fielding knocking down the second obstacle onto the parallel bars, and Declan Burns in trouble. Fielding's been allowed to go on. There are 5-second penalties for mistakes, but none signified there. 15 astride jumps on the bench. Fielding away first, gritting his teeth. And Burns stepped on the 4-meter long jump. That'll be 5 seconds penalty for Burns. So it looks as if Fielding is clear at the moment. Heats of 2 in this obstacle event, with the fastest 2 overall going into the final. 20 sit-ups. Burns really pumping well. This is where the man has the strength. He did well in the gym test, and Burns is first away and onto the beam. Has to get the turn in, and Fielding's off. And Burns is off there, but did he go past the tape? No signal from the judge, well over the high jump. Doesn't matter about knocking down the obstacle, the hurdles, and he tumbles over the line, but he's through. 5 seconds to add for a penalty on the long jump, and Fielding is limping and slow.
All sorts of problems there, Keith. What went wrong first?
I can't get any lift off the ankle. All my power's going to come from the right leg. I couldn't get over the first box. On landing, there's just no power, you see.
You were in trouble, clearly, from the word go.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
The souvenir hunters having a field day. Burns' total time 65.9.
Jody Scheckter Monaco.
Scheckter up against Will Hartog in Heat 2. So Burns the fastest at the moment. Fielding's time was 67.5. Oh, and Hartog off the bars and allowed to carry on. Didn't have to go back. Nothing added so far. And Scheckter away. He's fit now. He really's got his teeth into this competition. We've seen this so often that they come here saying they're going to have a laugh. Soon as they get into competition, the old adrenaline starts to flow again. Their old feeling from their old sporting days comes back, and they really get going. Scheckter, a supreme example. The two motorsport men together in this heat. And Scheckter away, and Hartog struggling a bit. The stomach muscles giving out. Scheckter on the beam. He said he didn't know where to put the turn in. He's decided to put it in at the end. And he's away. Now the high jump he practiced. And I thought for a minute he's going to straddle it, but he goes overhead first. And Scheckter's time will be good. And he's coming through a good sprint at the end. 60.7 for Scheckter, and Hartog is going to be slower. 67.8. Fielding definitely won't make the final now. Burns 60.5, Scheckter 60.7, the two fastest. But all that went out of the window a few minutes later when Ripley did a very fine 56.1 and booked himself a place in the final, because the next fastest man was Tony Inar. He had a heat against Mickey Berkovic, and Inar did the same time as Ripley, 56.1. Great ski jumper and a fine gymnast. In fact, Inar had 2 runs at it. His first run invalidated because of some bad judging. There was a bit of that around, but here are the official times. Ripley and Inar identical, go into the final. Scheckter gets 3rd, Burns up there gets 4th, and Berkovic gets 5th, and no points for Keith Fielding out of that event.
Britannia, Andy Ripley.
In the final.
ובשביל השני, מאוסטריה, Tony Inauer.
Another threat to Keith Fielding now. Identical times in the heats. Ripley over very well indeed. Onto the parallel bars. Oh, and one of the judges calling Ripley back. Now, I don't think he speaks Hebrew, and he's ignored him completely. I don't think he completed the parallel bar run. The judge was after him, but Ripley carries on. Both all right over the long jump.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Some of this judging has left a little to be desired, and I think our own referee, Clive Thomas, would be shaking his head a bit, but as he knows, all referees can make mistakes, and Ripley is carrying on and going well.
20.
Inar the first to get away and onto the beam, and Inar slips on the beam. Inar off the beam. Ripley sets himself. Took a little bit of time to look at that. But Inar's all right. And Ripley falling off the end, but he was just past the tape. Hurdles the high jump, but it's Inar who's going to win it. It's Tony Inar across the line, and Tony Inar has beaten Andy Ripley in this final of event 7. And look at that, a real case of David beating Goliath here in Israel.
Well done. 7 points. I think you'd have settled for that at the start of the event, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was quite pleased.
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, well done, Tony. Congratulations.
Thanks, you lot.
You wanted to win one event, and this was your one event.
This is my event. It's like running in the mountains, so it's the same.
And also, you're a gymnast, too. We've seen you on the parallel bars.
Yes, we did a lot of gymnasts in school, and I like it. It's one of my favorite sports, doing gymnastics.
This is at Stams, the famous school for training skiers and ski jumpers.
You know, you're informed.
Yes, of course, yeah. Anyway, good for your 10 points. Well done, Andy. But it means you've still got to collect a couple from the cycling in order to win the event overall.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be going for it. I'll go for it.
Good. Wish you luck, anyway.
Thanks,
well done, fair of you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Let's have a look at the facts and figures. Just the cycling to come. A place in the cycling final, enough for Ripley to become the champion. But if Fielding is to become runner-up, he must win the cycling, with Scheckter no better than 4th. So we all know that Keith Fielding's had a marvellous career in bike racing and superstars. He's never lost a bike race. But this one is very different. We know that Fielding is injured. He's got an ankle injury. The race is a long one. It's over 900 metres on a road circuit, and there are a number of right-hand bends in it as well. 4 men go at a time. And what's more, if it wasn't for this strong breeze blowing, the temperature would be unbearable. As it is, it's well into the 90s.
Well, Keith, never has a bike race seemed to mean so much. This is really a tough one. How's the ankle standing up?
It's very sore. It's very sore. But,
have you tried it in the pedals? Because you can't use your bike shoes, I understand.
I can't use the bike shoe. I can't get the shoe on very well. And also, the clips are too short, and I can't get, you know, the bike fits in on it, and it just won't go in and fit. And that would have held my ankle nice and steady, so
Well,
I don't know.
Well, you've never lost a bike race, but suddenly, just fighting for second place seems to matter an awful lot.
Well, we've got to give it a go. I don't mind. I'll try my hardest and just see.
Well, Jody, you're back on wheels again. Looking forward to this bike race. It really is a very important one.
Yes, I got to get some points, yeah, some good points.
Yeah. to dent the English.
Yes, one of the English rugby players.
Yes.
Well, it might all look a bit leisurely out on the Gulf of Aqaba, but I can tell you that the atmosphere nearby on the cycle track is anything but that. There have been problems getting the road closed and keeping it closed. There's a number of small avenues leading onto it, and the competitors now really psyched up. 2 heats of 4. Heat winners and the 2 fastest men go into the final.
Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Berkovic, Fielding, Schechter and Gert Muller nearest us in the blue, and Muller the man drops straight away. Berkovic over on the right of your picture in blue, Fielding in the grey, Schechter in white, and it's Berkovic leading at the moment. Over 900 metres this course, and it's very difficult indeed with bends in it, a road surface, and it's Mickey Berkovic, the Israeli, who's gone out in front. Schechter just in second place and overtaking Fielding there on the inside on the bend, and Gert Muller the man who's been dropped completely. Berkovic 1, Schechter 2, Fielding 3. But Fielding, of course, a very experienced bike rider. He knows just when to make the burst, but is he leaving this just a little too long? Schechter looking over his shoulder, who know exactly how to ride this. The tall Mickey Berkovic out in front, and Fielding now getting in touch with the pack again. Difficult corners to take and lumps, as you can see in the road, and Schechter coming wide on the outside, and Fielding chasing him, and Berkovic seems to have lost a little bit of power, and it's Schechter with a head down out in front. Fielding tucked in nicely behind. They've both overtaken Berkovic, and now it's Schechter and Fielding together. Schechter has the lead as they come up the final straight, and Fielding coming up wide of him, coming on the outside. Still Schechter has it by a bike length. Here comes Fielding coming close, but Schechter must have this, and a burst by Fielding on the line, and who's got that? My goodness, Fielding came late, and there was nothing more than an inch in that. I think it might have been Jody Schechter, and I think Fielding might have left it just a little bit too late. Berkovic was obviously broken by then, and the speed of these two sorted him out. But how will the judges sort this out? Schechter in the white, up comes Fielding, and split that. What a race.
Oh, they don't come much closer than that, though, Keith.
That's a bit late.
And your sparring partner, we haven't got the time to know whether it is Jody. I think so.
Who won it?
You did. By a tyre.
Oh, Jody got it.
By a tyre, you know.
Yeah,
you really had to work on that coming up the hill.
Yeah, well, I tucked in behind Mickey, first of all. Yes. And then Jody, in his way, you know, he knows the angles, doesn't he? Yeah. Got inside me, so I was behind Jody and Mickey. Then Mickey dropped out. Did he? And I was a bit behind Jody, so I had to catch Jody up. And that gave me a bit too much work to do down the back straight.
I was going to say, you really had to work that hard on a bike, Keith.
Oh, very rarely. Yeah.
So Fielding has made the final just by a hair's breadth, but we don't know yet if Schechter has, and he's the man who can upset the British Rugby League players' hopes of that runners-up position. So far, Fielding still with that unbeaten cycle race record, but my goodness, he came close that time. 4 riders in Heat 2 already, and the traffic will have to wait.
הנה המשתתפים במקצה הראשון. טוני אינאוור מאוסטריה.
Can rob Fielding of runners-up position.
אנדי ריפלי מבריטניה. דקלן ברנס מאירלנד. ויל הרטוג מהולנד.
Riders, are you ready? Timekeepers, ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tony Inar nearest us. Then the big figure of Andy Ripley, who hasn't got off too well. Then Declan Burns in the white vest, and Vil Hartog on the right of your picture on the inside. And it is Ripley who didn't have the greatest start, going right out into the lead. Declan Burns in 4th place at the moment, with Hartog and Inar up there in 2nd and 3rd. But Ripley going right out. We know if he makes a place in the final, in other words, if he wins this heat, he is assured of the International Superstar title. He only needs 2 points from this event, And with 4 men in the final, all he has to do is make the final, and he's out in front at the moment. And Declan Burns, the Irishman, in 4th place. Nothing much between Inar and Hartog, and there's a car coming on the course. A car right on the course there, and Ripley had to ride around it, and the rest had to follow. Now that is suicidal. The police control on this road, not good, but the race goes on. Andy Ripley, head down, the big giant of a man on the bike. Will Hartog in 2nd place, Inar, and then Burns, and a massive gap opening up. And Andy Ripley now is riding to the International Superstar Championship title. As he comes across the line, he's in the final, and he's won the championship. There is Ripley, the winner, with a final still to come. In they come, and in fact, it's Inar, Hartog, and then Declan Burns.
And Andy Ripley has the fastest time of the 4 finalists. Jody Scheckter makes the final over Will Hartog and gets a rerun against Keith Fielding.
So Ripley's safe and secure, but Fielding must win this final. Scheckter must be last if Fielding is to be runner-up.
Riders, are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Scheckter nearest us, then Ripley in the singlet, then Inar, and Fielding on the inside. It's all about Fielding and Scheckter. Fielding goes up, Ripley comes up on the inside, Scheckter is trailing Ripley, and Ripley has gone right up into the lead. He only needs to be last in this, but he's not giving anything away. He's going to ride for it as well, and that could ruin Keith Fielding's chances. Remembering, Ripley has got the title sewn up. Fielding needs to win this race. Scheckter must be last, and at the moment it's Ripley out in front with Tony Inar in 2nd place, and Fielding not happy. In 3rd place, keeps looking down at his feet. He hasn't got a secure footing on the pedals at all. The toe strap's not working. He's got the injury, and he's going to have to work hard here. Ripley comes through on the bend. Tony Inar in 2nd place. Fielding 3rd. Scheckter last at the moment. And is Scheckter biding his time? Remember the way that Scheckter and Fielding sorted out that first heat towards the finish. And Fielding now up in the 2nd place. Comes past Inar on the inside, but can Fielding catch Ripley? The bunch at the back, and Ripley is going to win this, which means that Fielding is not going to get that runners-up position in the International Superstars. In comes Ripley. Scheckter, in fact, is pulled up into 2nd, then Fielding, then Tony Inar. Fielding's chance is gone. Andy, well done, not only winning that, but the Superstar Champion, which you knew about. What was that final like? Because you were behind at the start.
I wasn't ever too sure. I'd never really biked before. The only time I biked before was when I had a puncture in Bath.
Right.
But, if you win, everything's right, everything smiles. But it's hard, you know, the level of competition is hard.
Enjoyed it?
Oh, very much. I mean, if you win, you're going to enjoy anything.
And now, Florida, and representing us in the World Championships. How does that appeal?
Well, if they ask me how long, I'll be there.
I think you've just booked a ticket. Well done, many congratulations.
Cheers.
The 8 events of this international completed, and what a convincing victory for Britain's big rugby union man Andy Ripley. Keith Fielding was favourite at the start, has to settle for 3rd behind Jody Scheckter. And Ireland's Olympic canoeist Declan Burns is 5th behind the Olympic ski jumper Tony Inar. Yet again, Britain's superstars have dominated the international competition, and between them, the two have won half of the 8 events as we come to the presentations with the celebrations to follow.
3rd place from Great Britain, Keith Fielding. In 2nd place, Jody Scheckter.
And the winner, champion at basketball, 100 metres and cycling, and international superstar champion Andy Ripley. The 1981 trophy to be presented by the marketing director of Townsend Torreson, Mr. Brian Thompson. And what a send-off that's given Great Britain, as Ripley and Fielding now get ready to go with us to Florida, where they'll take on, among others, the North Americans in the Superstar Championship of the World.